Sí, sí, sí.
Okay. So after working your way up from delivery driver to the president of the Coca-Cola company in Mexico, what inspired you to pursue politics?
I would say basically my Jesuit education and my education at home, where I have found that searching for your own happiness, you will reach faster when you are for others, when you work for others, when you work for your community. So working with the Coca-Cola company, of course, I had the reward of creating jobs for people, but that was not enough. To me, I felt emptiness in my heart and my soul, so I decided first to go back to the ranch, to be closer with people that are poor, that have very few opportunities throughout their lives. And so I spent another 15 years after the first 15 in Coca-Cola, then 15 at a small business, family business. And again, I felt that still I was not reaching what I wanted in life. And here comes this farmer, rancher, Manuel Cloutier, which had joined politics and invites me to join politics. And after thinking a lot about it, it was not easy in Mexico to move from the private sector to the public sector. But I finally decided to go to politics, searching for that fulfillment of my own needs, spiritual needs, and needs for happiness. I guess that would be the reason why. Second one would be seeing my country in hands of corruption, in hands of a authoritarian government, no transparency, no accountability, and the country was going worse and worse in hands of the PRI, which had dominated the political scene for 71 years, basically as a dictatorship, a very authoritarian government. That was another reason. I always have felt that freedom is a key value and ingredient in our lives.
Okay. What advice would you give to students now thinking about pursuing a career in politics?
Well, one that I guess it also comes from San Ignacio, from Iñaki. It's you should have very high aims. Even I would compare with the founding fathers of this nation. I mean, they had big dreams. And when you have those big dreams and heroic aspirations, you then get a lot of energy and you get a lot of potential within yourself to really go for it. And of course, you have to know pretty well where you want to go and then how you want to get there, and then put all the energy that you have pursuing that dream. And the book that I wrote, I write about the story of my grandfather, who had those same sentiments and feelings in Cincinnati, Ohio, until he decided he had to move out from there, migrate into Mexico, looking for his American dream. And that's where he found it, as a migrant. So I would say that's the spirit, how you really accomplish great things in life.
Okay, and then, as you mentioned before, the Institutional Revolutionary Party in Mexico had controlled the presidency for more than 70 years. How was your party able to break this trend and win the presidential election in 2000?
Okay, it was a process. It was a process, step by step, fighting for change, fighting for freedom and democracy. Took many years. Maybe one very special event that I would recall would be 1968, the year of the Olympics in Mexico. And students from universities decided to reveal and to fight for freedom and to denounce government repression and government authoritarian activities in front of the world people coming to watch the games in Mexico. And there was this huge repression at Plaza Tlatelolco in 1968, where hundreds of the students were killed when they were only looking for a change and looking for freedom. So that was one big step. And from there on, many others came on the same struggle for change, and I just happened to be the last on the line. And in the year 2000, I had the opportunity to run as a candidate for the presidency of Mexico. I was an outsider. My family had never been involved in politics. I had never been involved in politics. But as an outsider speaking for people, I was able to bring in this huge movement that ended up getting PRI out of Los Pinos.
Okay, and our last question, President Fox. Immigration has been a very intensive project for the United States government, and has utilized a lot of our resources. The most notable action that was taken by the U.S. was the building of the wall along our border. What were your feelings when this plan was announced, and how do you think it affected the relations between Mexico and the United States?
Well, I start by telling you my feeling is sadness and lack of understanding and why the leader, this great nation, would decide to build a wall. I don't understand what the fear is. I don't understand why this nation decided to isolate itself from the rest of the world, when this nation has been built by migrants coming from all over the world. We just have to go back to New York, to Ely Island at the beginning of last century and see all those hundreds of thousands of people coming from Europe and other parts of the world to build this nation. And I don't understand why this society and this nation, having the great talent that it has, comes with such a primitive solutions as building a wall. Walls don't work. The Chinese wall did not work against their enemies, the Mongols. The Berlin Wall did not succeed against freedom. We all remember President Reagan coming to that wall and shouting loud, "Tear off this wall, Mr. Worley." And this wall won't work either. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, and worst off, it's being built by Mexicans. Mexicans make a huge contribution to this economy. This economy would not work. New York would be stopped, the construction industry would be stopped. The harvesting of the agricultural fields in America would be stopped. So I think that we need to use our wisdom, to use our talent, and discuss this issue and bring up light to something that is totally distorted right now. Today, maybe kids are receiving the message that migration and migrants are an evil, that are not good to this nation. I mean, it's totally against the soul and the heart and the dream of this nation. So that wall has to be teared off, and right and light has to come through Congress. There is a bill in Congress presented by Senator Kennedy, which already left us, and Senator McCain. That's a very wise proposal, supported by President Bush, supported by myself. my administration. And I think right there is the answer and a solution to migration, to make out of this issue a win-win situation where we will all win. And that can be done by approving that bill that is in Congress. Lastly, to say that NAFTA has made us partners, Canada, United States, and Mexico. We've been neighbors, we've been friends, and NAFTA has proven that we can work together and we can build together and that we can improve together, United States, Canada, and Mexico. So what we need is to bring order, to bring regulation, to bring a framework under which migration can be administrated correctly. This nation and this economy, when it's growing at 2 to 3%, and it will, if not next year, the year after, needs 500,000 new additional workers to occupy all the jobs that this nation and its economy generates. This is a nation elderly in its population. It does not have enough resources on youth to sustain the pension plans, to sustain the retirement plans, and to sustain the dynamics of an economy that has to compete with China, that has to compete with India. The answer to that is partnering further. It's a NAFTA plus concept. It is further integrating our economies and our fate. And I'm absolutely convinced this is the future of North America that has to be built by all of us together.
Okay, I think that's our final question.
Muy bien. Está bueno. ¿Me pones ahí la página? ¿No traes un folleto de Centro Fox?
No.
Give you a brief description about Centro Fox.
Yes, please.
Okay? This is the first presidential library ever outside of the United States. It has been built in the last 2 years. And this is a center of ideas, a center of leadership. It is an academic center. It is a research center. It is a think tank center. It's also a cultural center. And we would love to receive visiting students from St. Louis University or from anywhere in the United States, because I think it's most important that we learn about our mutual cultures, that we interchange. At Rancho San Cristobal in Centro Fox, any visitor will live the experience of meeting the families of the migrants and meeting those families to learn that they are decent people, that they are hard-working people, that they are good people. Also, the experience of visiting Guanajuato is a historical state compared to maybe Philadelphia. Our founding fathers came from Guanajuato, El Padre Hidalgo, Morelos. It was a big participant in the revolution, the state of Guanajuato. So there's a lot of history in this state, which also will be part of the experience of coming to Centro Fox. And finally, this is a center for leadership, on the understanding that we are all leaders and we're leaders all of our life, which is the teachings of Iñaki, San Ignacio de Loyola, that he built leadership in San Francisco Javier and all those others that went to India, that went to China, where there was no communication, no roads, no airplanes, no nothing. And he invested them with that power within of leadership, and just told them, go along and build up the Church of Jesus Christ. So they came into China and learned Chinese, they came to India, they came to everywhere, to Japan. And so the Occidente, the East, went, the West went East and did the job. That's leadership.